Hello, Libra Rising. How are you? My name is Chloe. Thank you for tuning in today. Welcome to my channel. This is your forecast for Scorpio season, for Samhain, the Witch's New Year, for Halloween 2024. The tarot deck I'm working with for you today is the Jack-o'-lantern tarot, which is like spooky and cute. So I thought this would be a nice option that everyone would love. Okay, so I have a lot to say about Scorpio season, and there is yeah, definitely some big energy going on right now. I'm sure you heard about the Cardinal Cross with the full moon. I'm sure you heard about Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn. Big stuff happening, right? Um, I am often asked when things will no longer be so intense. And I have to be honest that I don't see that in like the near future. Um, Typically in astrology, we don't want to look like too many years ahead because that's not necessarily helpful. Excuse me, sorry. But yeah, for the foreseeable future, we do see energies like this intense or more intense. So having this like map that is astrology is what we have to guide and support us. And we can see sometimes that the ways through aren't always the most convenient or comfortable, which like I don't know, probably makes sense, right? Like, is the easiest thing the right thing? I don't know. I mean, sometimes I guess it could be, right? Um, so for you, Libra rising, there's definitely been like a lot of activations, especially if you have, a later degree rising sign closer to that, um, 29th degree where Pluto is making a square to your sign. And then, of course, there's the opposition with Mars and Cancer as well, too. Um, some of the more intense energies we have in astrology, Pluto and Mars are at opposition right now in Cancer and Capricorn. So there's a bit of a standoff there right now. I know we've all been feeling that collectively as world events unfold, but there's also, of course, on the personal level as well, how that is impacting us. So for you, it is the second house in whole sign astrology that is activated with the sun in Scorpio and with the new moon as well. And I think the new moon is right on Samhain, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have or sorry, yeah, the dark moon is on Halloween, and then we have the new moon on Witch's New Year on the following day. So yeah, very interesting synchronicity. I love that for us. Obviously, this time of year is special for me. Yeah, so it is the second house that is activated for you. So we are looking at last season, Libra season, it was your first house that was activated, rebirth in identity and ego and, shifts of leaving, old, outdated identities behind. So always nice to have the sun activating your first house. But now we move into the second house with Scorpio season, which is more about, your foundation and your security and what you want to, the resources you have, I should say. So this, of course, is like material resources such as finances, but it does include all resources as well. And then opposite to Taurus, which is associated with the second house, we have Scorpio. So as a Libra rising, you always have the sign activating the opposing house. So it's like really interesting thing that happens with your chart where you're always experiencing like this sister sign energy or this like sort of duality. So Scorpio season, we are invited to, like many seasons, release what doesn't serve. But Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, is, of course, going to alchemize and destroy and aid us in transmuting what doesn't serve. Um, all of the astrological seasons are reflected in nature's cycles, in our own cycles. So when you look outside during Scorpio season, you can see that the tree isn't like holding onto the leaves that want to drop. It's like she's letting them fall, right? And then that makes excuse me, that compost makes like the fertilizer for like the new growth in the spring, right? So it's all a beautiful cycle. And when we look to nature to see, like she has no issues releasing yeah, what releasing what no longer serves. And Pluto is amazing for, yeah, really, burning down what we don't need, or yeah, just taking it away. Unfortunately, it's often through crisis. We are forced to evolve through crisis when we consider the meanings of Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto's just yeah, like so at play right now in the collective, and there's so much information out there as well too. Like there's never been more interest in astrology, which I mean is great, but it's not always excuse me, it's not always helpful. Sorry, I'm just like recovering from a little bit of an illness. I spent like almost 3 weeks in Africa, and like people are like, "Oh, like did you get sick? Like did you have food poisoning? Like what happened?" And it's like honestly, I'm reading about like current like incubation periods and stuff, and I don't know. I suspect like I may have gotten sick on the flight over due to all the sickies not wearing masks. It's just yeah, so unfortunate that so many of us are not willing to yeah, take those precautions and like just keeping our own germs to ourselves, like how somehow that's like em encroaching on someone's like freedom. Like it's my freedom to get you sick with my germs. Like, is it? Is that what we call freedom nowadays? Anyways, um, so yeah, there's a lot of illness going around, and even though I did get sick while I was away, I do think that it may have been I may have received like the activation on the flight over because there's a lot of people coughing and not a lot of people masking. So just yeah, just saying it gives me yeah, it gives me some thoughts for sure. Interesting shift in perspective. Like in the early days of the pandemic, like airlines had to give like they were encouraged to like refund people who caught COVID because like you're gonna infect the whole flight, so like don't let them travel or whatever. But that was very short-lived, and like business comes first, commerce is first, capital is number one in capitalism, right? Um, so you don't get a refund now if you like get sick and you just like have to travel and like hope that they're wearing a mask or whatever. Like it's just so ridiculous how profit is still number one, even when like people's lives and health are at stake and all of that. Um, but anyway, this is like, part of what Pluto is exposing, being at the late degrees Capricorn. For the past 16 years, it's been like expose of corruption after expose, right? So it is disappointing, but it's not, not surprising that the needs of, um, the business of the airlines, of which there are so few because of deregulation and like, buying up smaller airlines and like not even having competition and like terrible like working conditions and terrible conditions for the consumers. Like, I don't know, flying is just so brutal, right? I couldn't imagine like working at an airline or like working on a flight. Like, I know that yeah, with Air Canada, they won't even pay their flight attendants like except for when they're in the air. So like the whole time when they have to like check you in and deal with you and like seat you and like welcome you on board and making sure your like seat back is up and your tray table is up and you don't have like cords hanging across like for takeoff and landing because that's, obviously if there's going to be an issue, that's what it's going to be and we need to be able to like quickly evacuate, right? Um Yeah. So, anyways, they don't even get paid for that. It's only time in the air. So, if you're on a 3 hour flight, even though they're working like 8 hours and like putting their bodies through like flying, they're getting paid for like 3 hours. So, there's a lot, I've got a lot of issues with the industry, um, clearly, and I've got a lot of issues with, yeah, with commerce in general and how things are going. But yeah, the more this gets exposed and becomes common knowledge, the more people will be aware. Like you have to have truth before you can have the reconciliation, right? Like we'd love to reconcile, but like if people don't even believe what's going on or like aren't even aware or whatever, um, it's difficult to come to that point. So we're definitely still in the era of things, things being excavated and yeah, the Pluto and Capricorn generation will be the ones to, yeah, like to reform the systems and the governance and all the things ruled by like Capricorn, right? Yeah, I'm gonna do my part, but I'm Pluto and Scorpio generation, right? So like I've got other things on the go, other areas that need transmuting and reforming that are more like sexual and like psychological and like trauma and stuff like that, right? Or Pluto and Libra generation and all the work that they've done through partnerships and relationships and that kind of thing too, right? So I do like it's nice to think that like it's nice to know that we are right on time, that we're not too late. But I think like, yeah, definitely encouraging younger generations because they've got like a lot of work ahead of them and doing everything that we can, within our own spheres of influence is going to be key as well. Like we can't afford to have anyone phoning it in this era, right? Everyone needs to do their part, but fortunately, no one has to do every single part, right? Like we all have, yeah, all have different roles to play and stuff too. So that part is good. So security, second house, your resources. Yeah, so why I'm setting this all up is like I don't see for you, Libra rising, a particularly like easeful month. Although I mean, of course, I would love to just tell you everything's gonna be great all the time. But I do see a little bit of yeah, dis-ease or discomfort for you this Scorpio season. Um, Okay, let me see how I want to. Let me check in with my guides and see how they want me to convey. I have the two cards that I pulled for you are the Queen of Cups. Um, she's a beautiful emotional sanctuary. And then we have yeah, the more volatile Five of Wands, but you're not the first sign to get the Five of Wands. Can I just say this guy? Do you see this face? Does it look like me? Is that me? Am I the guy watching over you in the Five of Wands? Right? Okay, let me take a minute with these cards. Okay, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I don't like love these types of messages because like sometimes they can be challenging to ground down in reality, but what my guides are saying is like there will be like turmoil around you this month. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on, right? So like I guess it's kind of good to get that, acknowledgement as well too. They're keeping it real. Spirit's keeping it real. So there's gonna be like, yeah, a lot of like external chaos, external discomfort, external turmoil, perhaps some like arguments that you're involved in, perhaps some like infighting that you're involved in. There is a lot of chaos happening around you during Scorpio season. That's what they're showing me for Libra rising. And you can find that sanctuary within. So second house is all about your own resources. So that makes sense that the Queen of Cups would show up in this way. So we're not going to, excuse me. We're not going to outsource our power. And then we're also not going to rely on like extracting power from others. This is going to be like a bit of like relying on ourselves this month. So it's important for you, Libra rising, to take really good care of your vessel, to care for your body, to rest when you need, to nurture and nourish yourself with what it is that your body is asking for, to get lots of rest if you can, because you're not going to necessarily be able to receive external grounding or that power or support from outside of yourself. So taking as best care of yourself because you're the one who will be caring for you this month, Libra rising. Um, so looking ahead, of course, to Sagittarius season, we're going to get different themes. Um, you'll have your third house activated, so then you're going to be shifting a little bit more onto onto community. But right now it's about your own resources, maintaining your own resources, and trying not to like yeah, waste any energy on, on the things you can't control. And like if there are arguments or disputes happening around you, if possible, not to engage in those, because that is going to like deplete your energy rather, and it might be like provocative, it might be activating, you might be triggered. But finding that security and that sense of grounding within yourself is going to be, yeah, it's just really, really going to be imperative for you this Scorpio season. So let me know if you have any other questions. I know that one was a little bit tricky. I have to keep it real. Spirit always keeps it real with me. That's our deal. So if you do have any comments or any further questions, I of course invite you to, yeah, to list them down below. Um, and I will see you as well in the yeah, the collective energy forecast. So happy Halloween, happy Scorpio season, blessed Samhain, happy Witches New Year, and take good care of yourself, Libra rising. I'll see you soon.